Hi everyone, I'm Sleepless Scientist tonight. We're drifting into one of the deepest and most slippery questions you can ask in the dark, right? As your pillow softens and your brain starts to hum quietly in the background. What is time really? Not just what clocks tell you or what calendars insist, but that strange pulsing feeling of passing, slipping, unfolding. Why does it feel like you're constantly moving forward? Why do some moments linger while others vanish, and what would happen? If time stopped, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious where these quiet little science stories are drifting to, and if this video helped you while you were there. Now relax, take a deep breath, and join me gently on this evening's journey. You don't notice it, but even now, as your body settles into the mattress and your eyes begin their slow negotiation with gravity, time is stretching itself around you. Not like a thread, not like a river, more like a fog, dense in some places, thin in others, and full of secrets no one's ever fully mapped. You've spent your whole life inside time. You wake up in it. You eat, work, worry, love, and dream in it. But have you ever stopped to wonder whether it's something that exists or something you're inventing moment by moment? Because here's something wild: the now that you feel so clearly, this sensation of being alive in the present, isn't really the present at all. It's a composite image pieced together by your brain. A few milliseconds delayed. Your eyes, your ears, your skin, they all process input at different speeds. Your brain waits, buffers, syncs it, like a live broadcast with a time lag. It gives you a false moment that feels seamless. So technically, you're always living a tiny bit in the past. Think about that as you wiggle your toes under the covers. Every movement you feel processed, interpreted, packaged, served with a side of illusion. Delicious. And it's not just your senses. Your sense of self is a product of time, too. You only feel like you because you remember having been you yesterday. You expect to be you tomorrow. But what if memory failed? If time disappeared from your mind, would you still feel like anyone at all? Scientists still debate whether consciousness depends on the perception of time, or if time as we know it only exists because consciousness strings events together. And maybe you've felt time shift on its own. Not in clocks, in feelings. When you're in pain, time slows. When you're falling in love, it evaporates. When you're deeply focused or deeply bored, it warps. This isn't just poetic, it's neurological. Your brain contains time neurons. Seriously, a few millimeters of tissue in your medial prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and cerebellum fire in patterns that form your sense of duration. But like any good DJ, your brain can remix what it hears, and it often does. Here's a quirky thing: time seems to stretch when you look back at unfamiliar memory-rich periods. A vacation packed with novelty seems longer than a whole month of repetitive workdays, which means your memory makes time feel real, but your memory lies all the time. Now imagine this. You're floating in a black room. No windows, no sound, no heartbeat, no breath. Just you and stillness. Could you tell whether a second had passed or an hour? Could you even care? This is the root of the mystery. Time feels real. But remove motion, remove change, and time dissolves, which leads to an ancient idea still whispered in philosophy departments and physics labs. Maybe time is not real at all. Not a thing, just a measurement of change. If nothing changes, no movement, no decay, then time ceases to matter. It's just a number on a non-existent clock. And maybe that's what you're feeling now. The slowing, the soft unwinding, time's grip loosening its fingers around your thoughts. It's not stopping. but you're no longer chasing it. So you lie there, breathing, feeling yourself exist in a moment built entirely by your mind. And maybe that's what time is in the end. Just the echo of your awareness, a rhythm you write yourself, a lullaby you sing into the void. You let yourself sink a little deeper. The room doesn't change, but you do. You're quieter now, like your thoughts have taken off their shoes. And as you soften into the next layer of stillness, you start to realize your now is not what you thought it was. Let's pull the curtain back a little. You've been trained your whole life to believe in the present moment. Live in the now. Be here. But the truth is, you never are. You never actually live in the now. Your brain won't let you. See, reality doesn't arrive all at once like a flash photo. It's more like a movie made of laggy footage. Your brain takes scraps what your eyes saw a little earlier, what your ears heard a few milliseconds after, and stitches them together into a convincing illusion. There's a name for this, the specious present. It's the just now window, a slice of recent events your brain treats as the now. Usually it's about 2 to 3 seconds long. That's why music feels like a flow, not a series of notes. Why you can finish someone's sentence without interrupting. You're constantly living in this handmade narrative, a tiny time bubble. Scientists still debate whether this time window evolved to help with survival, or whether it's simply the best your brain could manage while multitasking 100 million signals. But the kicker is this: now you trust so much, it's not a point, it's a chunk. And depending on your age, stress levels, attention span, and even how hungry you are, your sense of now stretches or shrinks like a rubber band. Here's a weird little tidbit: professional drummers tend to perceive time in shorter chunks than non-musicians. Their brains adapt to catch micro-rhythms others miss, which means their now is faster than yours. Chew on that. Or think about when you stub your toe. Remember how long that moment feels, like every millisecond is a freeze frame. That's because in panic or pain, your brain amps up processing speed. More detail, more data, so time appears to expand. But later in memory, it shrinks. Just a flash. So your now isn't even stable. And here's the quietly unsettling part: you never get access to reality raw. You get the processed version, color-corrected, time-delayed, sensationalized, comfort-wrapped for your emotional well-being. Your brain builds a little set stage, lights it, and you walk on like you belong there. Think about this: when you watch someone speak, your eyes see their lips move before your ears register their voice. But you don't notice the delay. Your brain edits it into sync. So what happens when the editing team messes up? People with certain types of temporal lobe epilepsy report moments where sound and sight are out of sync, where time seems fractured. And when it happens, they don't say, "Oh no, my neurons are lagging." They say, "The world is broken." That's how intimate time is. It's not something around you, it's something you are. Even memory isn't safe. When you recall something vividly, your first kiss, your worst fight that summer afternoon, you're not playing a video. You're rebuilding the scene from scratch with slightly warped blueprints. Your hippocampus reactivates the sensory areas that felt the moment the first time. And every time you revisit it, you edit it. So your past is a time-stitched hallucination, and your present is a delayed illusion. Your future, a guess. Yet somehow, it works. You walk through the day, you plan meetings, you laugh at jokes, you get emotional when you hear that old song, all because your brain keeps up this quiet charade called now. But maybe that's not something to be sad about. Maybe it's kind of beautiful. You live in a handmade now, crafted by a tired, overworked brain doing its best to keep you tethered to something. And it's done a pretty good job so far, hasn't it? So as you lie there now, warm and heavier than before, realize that even this very moment, The way the air smells, the quiet buzz in your limbs, the echo of words in your head is a gift, delayed, compiled, gently offered. It might not be the real now, but it's your now, and that's the one you get to fall asleep inside. You're still here. Drifting gently, the air feels softer now, like the molecules themselves are slowing down to match your breath. And in this quiet, your mind starts asking, what if everything past, present, future was already written? What if time doesn't actually flow, but you do? Welcome to one of the strangest ideas in physics, the block universe. Imagine you're not walking through time like a hallway. Instead, imagine time is already a full sculpture, a frozen block of space-time. Every second you've ever lived and every one you'll ever live already exists. You're just experiencing them one slice at a time. It's like reading a novel. You only read one word at a time, but the whole book is already there. To your eyes, it's a journey. To the universe, it's a structure. This idea comes out of Einstein's theories. When he rewrote time and space into space-time, he didn't leave much room for a flowing river of time. Instead, space and time form a kind of four-dimensional geometry, and if space is laid out, why wouldn't time be too? Here's the unsettling part: in a block universe, the future already exists. You just haven't experienced it yet. Scientists still debate whether this interpretation is the best way to explain relativity, or whether it's just a philosophical trick of language. Either way, it changes how you think about being alive. Because if every moment is already sitting in the sculpture, then do you really make choices, or are you simply walking through a pre-written path? Let's not spiral too hard just yet. Let's think smaller, personal. Have you ever had a moment so vivid, so emotional, that you felt like you could step back into it? Like a childhood summer or a breakup, or that one time you saw the stars just right. Now flip that, you've also had days vanish. Entire weeks disappear like lint in the dryer. If time were truly flowing, shouldn't all moments feel the same size? But they don't. Because your perception of time stretches and squishes moments based on meaning. That's why a first kiss can feel longer than an hour-long meeting. Why an emergency slows everything down, but your vacation is over in a blink. You aren't moving through time at a fixed rate. Your attention is the throttle. Odd fact, there's a rare condition called chronostasis, where people perceive time as frozen for a moment. The most common example: when you glance at a clock and the second hand seems stuck for just a beat before ticking forward. That's your brain freezing the image as it reboots your sense of time. In other words, your brain sometimes says, let's just pretend time paused while I sorted this out. And you don't even notice. Here's another layer to this strange cake in the block universe model. All observers experience their own now. There's no universal present. Your now is different from someone on Mars, and wildly different from someone orbiting a black hole. So if everyone gets their own now, is there really a single present at all? This isn't just bedtime philosophy. This is baked into the math of relativity. It's why GPS satellites have to correct for time dilation. They're moving fast and are farther from Earth's gravity, so their clock speed is different. Without adjusting for that difference, your phone would place you hundreds of meters from where you actually are. Time isn't a constant backdrop. It's a local variable, a thing that warps, that bends, that sometimes breaks. And yet you walk through it like it's nothing. You say, see you tomorrow, like tomorrow is guaranteed. But in a block universe, it kind of is. So maybe don't panic. Maybe it's comforting to think every version of you already exists, from baby you, chasing bugs, to future you, still brushing your teeth in 2073. You're not disappearing. You're just visiting. And tonight, You're visiting this version of you, curled up, slowing down, untangling the threads of time before sleep. That's the you that matters right now. You lie there, letting the weight of the idea settle over you like a second blanket. The future already exists, the present isn't real. Your brain edits reality like a half-awake film editor with bad lighting, okay. Deep breaths. But there's one thing that still feels real, no matter how many theories you throw at it. Time moves forward. Right. You wake up. You age. You watch your coffee cool your toast, burn your phone battery die. Things go from tidy to messy, from full to empty. You never see your room clean itself. You never unbreak an egg. This sense that time has a direction is so obvious, so built into daily life, that we don't question it. But guess what? Physics doesn't care about your feelings. In fact, many of the fundamental laws of physics work both ways. Play the equations backward, and they still make sense. Time in the raw math is symmetric. So why does your life only move one way? The answer, or at least the closest thing we have to one, is entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder, of chaos, of how scrambled things are. A neat room has low entropy. A teenager's bedroom has high entropy. The universe slowly is trending toward maximum entropy, maximum messiness. And this gradual increase in disorder is what gives us the arrow of time. It's not time that moves forward. It's entropy that increases, and we mistake that for time moving. We remember the past, not the future, because the past was less messy, more ordered, and easier to store in memory. Your body ages, your tea cools, your socks vanish in the laundry, because entropy keeps marching on. Here's a delightfully weird tidbit. You could theoretically film an egg unbreaking. Just drop it, record the moment, then play it backward. In the video, the mess assembles into a smooth shell. But your brain would instantly know it was wrong, because your mind is wired to detect entropy violations. You have an inborn sense of what makes sense based on how the universe increases disorder. Scientists still debate whether the universe started in a state of low entropy on purpose, or whether it was just random and we got lucky. Or unlucky, depending on how much you like ironing your shirts. But think about this. If entropy is the real clock, then maybe time isn't something you pass through. Maybe time is the result of your universe slowly crumbling into statistical chaos. Kind of romantic, right? You're a temporary miracle of order, a fleeting low-entropy sculpture in a world falling apart. And yet, you still manage to pay taxes, brush your teeth, and watch cat videos. Not bad for a walking thermodynamic exception. The arrow of time is also what lets you tell stories. It's why movies have plots. Why you can tell a joke with a punchline that lands in the future and isn't just scattered across all points of time like popcorn. Without an arrow, without the sense of before and after, your memories would be a deck of shuffled cards. No sequence, no cause and effect, just chaos. Entropy gives time its flavor, its spice, its structure, and it gives your life a sense of meaning. You can say things like, "That happened to me," or "I'm becoming someone new," because you trust the flow from less entropy to more. Which also means that sadness, regret, nostalgia, and hope, they're all entropic side effects. You feel loss because you know you can't go back to that less messy moment. You feel wonder when something beautiful holds still for just a second before entropy gets it too. So maybe tonight, as your body gives up the need to be structured, to be awake, to be efficient, you can let entropy do its work. Let go of the idea that you need to stay tidy. Let the story keep moving. And as your thoughts begin to blur like the edges of a watercolor painting, remember, you're not just a passenger in time. You're part of why it flows. You lie there quietly warm and still, and your thoughts have started to melt around the edges. But just before they vanish entirely into sleep, something flickers, like a question that doesn't want to leave yet. What happens when your brain loses track of time? Not metaphorically, literally. What happens when the circuits that build your sense of time go dark, misfire, or get completely scrambled? Welcome to the strange world where time breaks in the brain. You already know that your brain is the ultimate timekeeper, editing your now stacking memories like pancakes and predicting the next few seconds like a hopeful weather app. But what happens when that system breaks down? Let's start with déjà vu. You know the feeling suddenly you're convinced you've lived this moment before. The sound of the air conditioner, the angle of the light, the way your hand holds the fork. It's not just familiar, it's eerily familiar. But here's the twist. Your brain isn't pulling up an old memory. It's having a timing error. Scientists still debate whether déjà vu is caused by a brief glitch in how the brain processes short-term and long-term memory. Essentially, your brain tags a moment as both new and remembered, like hitting save and open file at the same time. Another oddity, time blindness. Some people, especially those with ADHD, experience time not as a steady river, but as disconnected puddles. They'll swear that 5 minutes have passed, only to find it's been an hour, or the other way around. And when you can't feel time passing, planning becomes nearly impossible. Deadlines feel imaginary. Appointments vanish into fog. Days shrink or explode depending on what caught your attention. Quirky fact studies show that people with ADHD often don't respond to time-based rewards, like work for 20 minutes, then take a break, but respond well to task-based rewards. Do this thing, then pause. It's not laziness, it's biology. Then there's trauma, when time doesn't just blur, it freezes. During a traumatic event, people often report that time slowed to a crawl. Every heartbeat echoes. Every sound feels exaggerated. But afterward, time often disappears. You might forget entire moments, days, even weeks. Your brain, trying to protect you, files the memory somewhere else, a kind of off-site location. And it doesn't always leave a map. There's a theory that your brain's internal clock, the one that usually ticks along nicely in the basal ganglia and cerebellum, gets hijacked by the amygdala during fear or stress. The brain over-records certain moments while under-recording others, which is why a car crash might feel like 10 slow-motion seconds, but leave you unsure what happened afterward. Or why grief feels endless, but the funeral itself feels like a blink. And then there are dreams, the nightly glitch fest where time loses its grip completely. You fall asleep for 20 minutes and live a week inside a dream. Or you nap for 2 hours and dream of nothing. Dream time is elastic, chaotic, gloriously untrustworthy. But even in dreams, your brain builds a kind of timeline. A weird one. Sometimes you remember things your dream self did yesterday. Sometimes you fast forward through events. Sometimes you skip context entirely and just feel the consequence. Scientists still debate whether dream time correlates with real time. There are experiments where people in lucid dreams have been asked to signal by moving their eyes when certain amounts of time have passed. The results are mixed. Dream time isn't fake. It's just subjective. Just like wake time. Just like your memory. Just like déjà vu trauma and those weird days that disappear into the couch cushions. Which leads to a slightly unsettling idea: maybe all time is subjective. There's no true clock inside you, just systems trying to coordinate, trying to keep up like a band with no conductor. When the music works, you feel stable, linear, in sync with the world. But when it doesn't, time stutters. The rhythm drops, and suddenly, you're in a moment you can't quite name. But that's okay. Because maybe, just maybe, there's a kind of softness in knowing that your perception of time is allowed to be imperfect. That some moments can stretch, others can vanish. Some can echo, others can feel like they never happened at all. You're not broken. You're just human. And humans were never meant to be perfect clocks. So as your brain slowly unhooks from the day, let it drift, without worrying about what time it is, what time it was, or what time it will be. For now, you're not late. You're not early. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're floating now, not in space, not in water, but in a stillness that doesn't have a name. A place between seconds. And as the quiet deepens, your thoughts begin to stretch towards something bigger. Because if your brain can bend time, forget time, even misplace it. What does physics say time really is? Let's start by admitting something uncomfortable. Physicists don't agree. They've tried to define time for centuries, measured it, theorized it, charted it in equations. But ask 10 physicists what time is, and you'll get 11 answers. Here's one version in classical physics: time is absolute. This was Isaac Newton's view. He imagined time as a kind of invisible grid running through the universe. Events happened in time. No matter where you were or how fast you moved, time ticked forward at the same rate. Steady, predictable, reliable. Kind of like that friend who always shows up 5 minutes early with snacks. Time in Newton's view was trustworthy. But then came Einstein. And Einstein said, nope. Time is not absolute, he argued. Time is relative. It stretches and shrinks depending on your speed and the strength of the gravity you're experiencing. The faster you go, the slower your time flows. The deeper you are in a gravity well, like near a massive planet or black hole, the more time bends around you. This isn't just a cool idea. It's been measured. Remember those GPS satellites from earlier? They have to account for 2 types of time distortion. One from moving quickly, which slows their clocks, and one from being higher up in Earth's gravity, which speeds their clocks up. Without adjusting for those effects, your phone would get lost in your own driveway. So Einstein's theory relativity taught us that time is part of space. Space-time. They're woven together. Imagine space-time as a trampoline. Put a bowling ball on it, that's a planet. The fabric warps. Now roll a marble past it, it curves around the dent. That's gravity. And that curve in the marble's path. It's not just the marble moving through space, it's also moving through time. Now here's where it gets trippy. Scientists still debate whether time is emergent, a side effect of something deeper, like how temperature emerges from molecular motion. No single molecule has temperature, but a lot of them together. That creates heat. Maybe time is like that. Not a fundamental ingredient of the universe, but a symptom, a byproduct. And if time is a symptom, then maybe the real question isn't what is time, but what is it a symptom of quirky fact? Some physicists believe the universe doesn't evolve in time. Instead, it's described by a set of equations that don't even include time at all. They're timeless descriptions. No ticking, no sequence, just relationships between states. So how do we experience a flow? Well, it might be that time feels like it's flowing because your consciousness traverses a sequence of states. Like walking through pages in a flipbook. The pages are all there. You just happen to be on page 57 tonight. Still comfy. Good. Because this gets even weirder with quantum physics. In the quantum world, where particles can be in multiple states at once and measuring something changes, time becomes blurry. There are experiments that suggest causality can reverse under certain conditions. In other words, something that happens now could affect something that happened earlier. Physicists call this retrocausality, and while it's still controversial, it's not ruled out. It's like the universe left a loophole in causality, and quantum particles sometimes sneak through it like naughty children in a museum. And yet, your everyday world still obeys clocks and schedules and bedtime. So what gives? The leading theory is that classical time, the time you know and trust, is an emergent behavior that rises out of quantum weirdness, the way waves emerge from water molecules. Just because the pieces don't have time doesn't mean the pattern can't. It's like ants forming a trail. No single ant understands pathway, but together they make one. Time might be the trail your universe walks without any one particle knowing it's participating. Kind of humbling, isn't it? You lying there breathing, blinking, fading slowly towards sleep are part of this emergent process. Your heartbeat follows time. Your dreams will unfold inside it. And somewhere on a quantum level, time might not even exist. But you do. And that's enough for now. Your eyes are closed now, or maybe they're just too tired to notice the dark. Either way, your mind keeps wandering softly, lazily, like it's floating down a lazy river of stars. And in that drifting quiet, another question bubbles up slower than the rest. If time can bend, stretch, or maybe not exist at all, can we ever escape it? Let's start with the wildest possibility: time travel. For as long as humans have told stories, we've wondered what it would be like to move through time like you move through space. To visit the past, fix mistakes. To leap into the future, steal a glance at what you become. It's part fantasy, part fear, part very late-night internet rabbit hole. But in physics, it's a real topic. And there's a name for the kind of loop you'd need to make it happen: a closed, time-like curve. Sounds fancy, but it's just a path through space-time that loops back on itself. Imagine walking in a circle, but instead of looping through space, you're looping through time. If that loop is real, you could arrive at a moment that already happened. Say hi to your past self. Steal your own lunch. Einstein's equations actually allow these loops under extreme conditions, like near a rotating black hole, or inside a theoretical structure called a wormhole, a tunnel through the fabric of space-time with two ends at different locations, or times. Yes, Einstein gave you wormholes, but whether you can travel through them, that's where the problems start. Because time travel comes with baggage. Big, messy, paradoxical baggage. Let's talk about the grandfather paradox. It goes like this: you travel back in time and accidentally prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. Uh-oh. That means you're never born. But if you're never born, you couldn't go back in time to interfere. So he did meet her. But then, wait, are you dizzy yet? Scientists still debate whether the universe would allow such paradoxes, or whether something somewhere would stop them from happening. One idea is the Novikov self-consistency principle, which basically says you can go back in time, sure, but whatever you do, you already did. You can't change the past, because your actions are already baked into it. In this version, if you try to kill your grandfather, the gun jams. If you try to change history, you accidentally cause it. Time becomes self-healing. Odd fact: in 2009, physicist Stephen Hawking threw a party for time travelers. He didn't send the invitations until after the party happened. No one came. He said that was proof time travel to the past is impossible, or that time travelers are just really bad at checking their mail. But let's turn the dial the other way. What about traveling into the future? That one's actually easy. It happens all the time. Every astronaut aboard the International Space Station ages just a little bit slower than you do thanks to time dilation. Tiny amounts, yes, but measurable. The faster you move, the slower your time flows. So if you flew near the speed of light for what felt like a year, to you decades could pass back on Earth. You'd return home, and everyone would be older. Some would be gone. History would have moved on without you. In fact, this kind of time travel is built into relativity. No paradox, just loss. And maybe that's the sad part. Time travel into the future is possible, but you can't take anyone with you. You can't come back. Still, there's something haunting and beautiful about the idea of becoming a traveler outside time, of letting go of clocks and calendars, of stepping into a universe where time doesn't chain you. Here's where your mind gets a little poetic, like it's not just asking questions anymore, but feeling them. What if memory is a kind of time travel? You reach backward, find a scent, a sound, a detail so sharp it cuts. You feel the past without touching it. That's a kind of travel. And what about dreams? A dream where you're 10 again, or 80, or somewhere else entirely. Your brain tosses you into a scene outside your real timeline. That's not time travel technically, but it sure feels like it. Maybe we're always traveling. Maybe time isn't a thing we move through, but a thing we carry, a gravity inside us. So lie there, traveler. You've already gone so far tonight through wormholes and paradoxes, memory and math, through playgrounds of physics and soft, sleepy questions that might not have answers. But that's the magic of it. Time might bend. It might break. But tonight, it cradles you, soft as breath, real as your heartbeat. You're still here somewhere between thought and sleep. Your limbs are heavy, your breath slow, and your mind. Your mind is adrift, cradled by something timeless. You're not sure how long you've been lying there. Could be 10 minutes. Could be forever. But now, let's shift again. Because time isn't just something physicists obsess over. It's something life depends on. Literally. So here's the question. How does your body know what time it is? Let's talk about your circadian rhythm, your internal clock. It's not digital. It's not battery-powered. It's biological. A full-body metronome ticking away beneath your skin. Right now, even as you drift closer to sleep, tiny molecular gears are turning. Proteins inside your cells are building up, breaking down, repeating on a roughly 24-hour cycle. Light hits your eyes in the morning. Clock resets. You skip meals, stay up late, stare at your phone in bed. The clock stutters, gets fuzzy. At the center of it all is a part of your brain with a delightfully intimidating name, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. It sits in your hypothalamus just above the optic chiasm, and it's made up of about 20,000 neurons. This little bundle of brain matter does one thing: it keeps time. Like the drummer in the back of the band, keeping rhythm, while the rest of your body plays its weird biological jazz. But your body doesn't just keep one rhythm. Oh no. You've got clocks in your liver, your gut, your heart, even your skin. They all sync up with the SCN, usually. When they don't, that's called chronodisruption, and it's just as chaotic as it sounds. Jet lag. That's your internal clocks disagreeing. Night shifts, same problem. Eating dinner at midnight while doom-scrolling TikTok. You're basically time traveling, very badly. Scientists still debate whether our modern lives are shredding these natural rhythms or just forcing them to adapt. Either way, the data's clear circadian rhythm impacts everything from your metabolism to your mood, your memory, your immune system, and yes, your sleep. Here's a fun fringe fact: some plants close their leaves at night, even if they're kept in constant darkness. Their internal clocks don't care. They know what time it's supposed to be. Your body's the same way. Even in a cave with no sunlight, you'd still operate on a roughly 24-hour cycle, for a while at least. But let's go even deeper. There are people, rare, fascinating people, who don't experience time like the rest of us. People with non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder. Their body clock doesn't sync to the Earth's rotation. Every day, their bedtime creeps forward by minutes or hours until their whole life rotates like a spinning wheel. They're awake at noon one week, and wide-eyed at 3 a.m. the next. It's not a choice. It's neurology. Now add in things like seasonal affective disorder, where less daylight can tilt your mood into wintry despair, or delayed sleep phase disorder, where your natural bedtime doesn't arrive until 3 or 4 a.m. You start to see it. Time isn't just a number. It's a feeling. It's a hormone balance. It's a biological argument between what you want and what your cells demand. And then there's melatonin, the so-called sleep hormone. Your brain starts releasing it when the light fades. But it's not magic. It doesn't knock you out like a switch. It's more like a whisper, hey, maybe it's time. Light, especially blue light from screens, delays that whisper. Makes your body think the sun is still up. That's why scrolling in bed can feel relaxing, but mess you up hours later. So if you've ever stared at your ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering why you can't fall asleep, it might be because you accidentally told your brain it was lunchtime in Tahiti. But here's the hopeful part. Your body wants to heal, wants to sync, wants to remember the rhythm it was built for. Sometimes it just needs help. A dimmed room, a quiet fan, a bit of stillness. A moment without push notifications. Maybe even this voice. Right here. You don't have to force it. Just drift. Because inside you, time is already winding down for the night. Your breath is soft now, rhythmic, almost like a tide rolling in and out. The world has shrunk to the space beneath your eyelids. And yet your mind keeps nudging forward, brushing up against bigger questions, deeper patterns, because tonight time isn't done whispering its mysteries to you. So here's one for the dreamers. Is time infinite, or will it end? Let's start with the basics. Time as you know it began around 13.8 billion years ago, when the universe exploded into existence in what we call the Big Bang. Before that, no one's really sure. Some physicists argue time didn't exist before the Big Bang. Others think it was just different. Like a movie that hasn't started yet. All potential, no plot. But here we are, billions of years later, floating on a little blue planet, inside a galaxy that's spinning, inside a universe that's still expanding. Not just drifting apart, mind you, accelerating. Galaxies are flying away from each other faster and faster, like raisins in a loaf of baking bread. The more space we have, the more space gets created. And if this continues, it leads to something called the heat death of the universe. Not as dramatic as it sounds. No explosions, no flames, just stillness. You see, as the universe expands, matter spreads out. Stars burn out. Black holes evaporate. Over trillions and trillions of years, the universe becomes colder, quieter, and more entropic. Eventually, everything that can happen has happened. No more change, no more light, no more life. Time, in a very real sense, could just fade away because time needs change. And in a heat death, nothing changes anymore. Just a sea of low-energy particles floating through endless night. But not everyone agrees. Some scientists still debate whether the universe will end in heat death, or in a big crunch where gravity pulls everything back into a dense knot, or in a big rip where dark energy tears galaxies and atoms apart, or even in a big bounce where our universe collapses and rebounds into a brand new one. Cheerful stuff, right? Here's the quirky bit. According to some speculative physics, the flow of time might reverse in certain scenarios. In the Big Crunch, for example, as entropy decreases, time could run backward. Suns unburn, ice unmelts. Maybe you unage, unlive, unbirth. Though probably not with a Benjamin Button-style soundtrack. But you right now aren't at the end of time. You're in the middle of the story. Your tiny piece of the timeline is sharp, bright, and alive. And what you do with it, it matters. Every choice you make sends a ripple into the future, not just in your life, but in the lives of others. You exist at the intersection of time's arrow and consciousness's awareness. You don't need to worry about the end of time when you are the moment unfolding. Right here, right now. Want a fun thought experiment? Close your eyes. Oh wait, you probably already have, and picture your timeline like a string stretched across the dark. Now imagine that string has knots in it, moments that feel tangled, loops where you return again and again, memories, mistakes, nostalgia. Your timeline isn't perfectly straight. It's yours. It weaves. It shivers with meaning. And in those knots, you can pause, breathe, learn, maybe even untangle something. You've been shaped by past time, but you are the only one shaping your present. And though scientists can't agree on how or even if time will end, here's something quietly amazing. In the time it took you to listen to this section, somewhere in the cosmos, a star was born. Somewhere else, a galaxy flickered for the last time. A signal from an alien world crossed light years toward us, or away. Time is not done yet, and neither are you. You're still with me, drifting deeper now. Your muscles have forgotten tension. Even your thoughts have slowed into that warm, syrupy rhythm just before dreaming. But your curiosity, that little ember, still glows. So tonight, let's follow it down another corridor of questions. Does time really move? Or is that just your illusion? Let's start with something bold. Some physicists think time doesn't flow at all. No past rushing behind you. No future pulling you forward. Just a vast, frozen landscape of events like photos in a cosmic album all existing at once. It's called the block universe theory, and it's just as strange as it sounds. In this view, everything, your birth, your breakfast this morning, your final breath decades from now, already exists in space-time. You're not traveling through time. You're just experiencing different coordinates of it. Like flipping through a flip book, one frame at a time. Time doesn't pass. You pass through it. Think of it like this, imagine watching a film. To the characters in the movie, each moment seems to happen right now. But to you, the viewer, the beginning, middle, and end are all there on the reel, already complete. Now imagine you're both the actor and the viewer. Welcome to the block universe. But this clashes with how you feel time flowing, relentless, sometimes too fast, sometimes painfully slow. You feel a now. You feel change, emotion, anticipation. So what gives one answer entropy? Entropy is the idea that the universe tends toward disorder. Eggs don't uncrack. Coffee doesn't unstir. Ice cubes don't leap back into the tray. This increase in disorder gives time a direction, the arrow of time. Scientists still debate whether entropy causes our experience of time or just reflects it. But it gives us something solid to cling to: change, decay, growth. Still, there are parts of physics where time doesn't even matter. Most of the fundamental equations of physics, Newton's laws, Maxwell's equations, even Einstein's general relativity work perfectly in reverse. Run them backward. They still make sense. That's weird, because your life definitely doesn't play well in reverse. You don't uneat a taco. You don't unread a text. You don't unsay that embarrassing thing from 8th grade no matter how hard you try. So why is time asymmetric for you, but not for the math? Here's a strange fact. Your brain might be constructing time the way it constructs color or sound. Just like color doesn't exist out there, it's just wavelengths until your brain assigns it, meaning maybe now isn't out there either. Maybe it's a feeling, not a feature. Your brain stitches a continuous present by blending inputs, memories, and predictions into a smooth movie, like buffering a live stream of the universe. It makes educated guesses to smooth the gaps, and sometimes it guesses wrong. Remember when we talked about déjà vu? That's a case of your brain confusing the timeline, a hiccup in memory tagging. But there's more. Ever walked into a room and forgot why? Ever lost track of time completely while scrolling your phone? Ever had a moment stretch forever or snap by in an instant? These aren't bugs. They're features of your perception system. Your brain is running a time simulation at all times. Sometimes it's accurate. Sometimes it's just doing its best. And there's something humbling about that, isn't there? To realize that the clock you trust most, your mind, isn't actually showing you time. It's showing you your version of time. Let's go weirder. Some quantum physicists think time could be an emergent illusion, not a real thing at all, but a property that arises when particles interact, kind of like temperature or traffic. In this view, without change, time disappears. Two isolated atoms, not talking, not moving, no time. But the moment one bumps into the other, time wakes up. It's a wild, unconfirmed idea, but it suggests that time only exists when something happens. So what does that mean for your life? Maybe that time isn't this cold, rigid line dragging you forward. Maybe it's more like a flame, flickering brighter when you engage, dimming when you disconnect. Time feels thicker when you're present, thinner when you're distracted. Ever notice how childhood summers seemed to last forever, and now weeks disappear in a blink? You were more awake back then, more embedded in each moment. You squeezed time like a sponge, and maybe you still can. Because even if time is just a construct, you still get to shape it. You shape time when you pause, when you remember, when you sit still and notice. You slow time down when you fall in love. You freeze it when you grieve. You stretch it when you're bored on a plane. You skip it entirely during naps. Time bends, not because the universe changes, but because you do. So tonight, as you lie here, your brain quietly weaving memories, your breath sinking with the dark, remember this. Time doesn't have to make perfect sense. It just has to feel true to you. And in this moment, this stretch of soft, slow seconds, you are timeless. You barely notice it now, but your body has fully surrendered. The mattress cradles you like a fossil forming in real time. Your breath whispers so gently, it could be mistaken for the breeze under a door. But your mind, still floating, still drifting just above the surface of sleep, still curious. And so we wander to another question, gentle and strange. Is time the same for everyone? Everywhere, short answer, absolutely not. Long answer, welcome to relativity. It all began with a man named Albert Einstein, who one day decided that time and space weren't two separate things, but part of one unified fabric called space-time. If you picture space-time like a bedsheet, which you happen to be lying on convenient, then objects like planets and stars weigh it down. They create dents, curves, dimples, and when something moves near those dents, it follows the curves. That's gravity. But here's the kicker: gravity doesn't just bend space, it also bends time. Which means time moves differently depending on where you are and how fast you're going. This is called time dilation, and it's not science fiction. It's science fact. Let's say you're standing on Earth holding your phone checking the time. Meanwhile, your identical twin is orbiting the planet in a spaceship traveling near the speed of light. When your twin comes back, surprised they've aged less than you have. You spent 20 years binge-watching TV and eating questionable leftovers. They barely blinked. Or let's flip it. You spend a week on the surface of a neutron star, a place with gravity so strong it can warp space-time like taffy. When you return to Earth, centuries might have passed. Yes, this is real. GPS satellites in orbit literally have to adjust their clocks to account for this time dilation, or your navigation would be off by kilometers. So no time is not universal. It's relative. To speed, to gravity, to location, even to perspective. And here's the mind bender: this relativity applies everywhere. Right now in your own body, time is ticking slightly faster for your head than your feet. Gravity is weaker the farther you are from the Earth's center. So your scalp is technically older than your toes. Scientists still debate whether this slight difference accumulates over time. So far, no one's developed foot age spots. But give it a few decades, and this isn't just trivia for nerdy dinner parties. It has philosophical weight. If time is different for everyone, then so is reality. Your now isn't the same as mine. There is no global synchronized moment. No universal clock striking 12. It's a little lonely, isn't it? But also kind of poetic. You live in your own little timeline, custom-made for your body, your speed, your place in the universe. That means every experience is personal. Every second is yours. Want a quirky twist? There's a phenomenon called the twin paradox, a thought experiment, where one twin travels at near light speed, and when they return, they're significantly younger than the twin who stayed home. But here's the twist: each twin sees the other as moving. So which one actually ages slower? Well, it depends who accelerated, who changed reference frames. The one who experienced that change, turning around, decelerating, breaks the symmetry. That's how physics keeps the timeline honest. This paradox makes you realize time isn't just about where you are. It's also about how you move through life. A person who rushes through their days, constantly switching gears, chasing seconds. They live a different time than someone who moves slow, who pauses, who breathes. You don't just exist in time, you create it. So if time is subjective, if it's curved and stretchy and personal, then what does that mean for things like memories or regret? Maybe it means there's no such thing as being too late. Maybe it means now is always enough. Maybe it means you can stop rushing. Because somewhere out there, another version of you is already resting, already healed, already whole. Maybe you don't need to catch up. You just need to be here. And here, wrapped in shadows and science and softness, is exactly where you're supposed to be. Time is relative. But this moment, this one is real. By now, your thoughts are like fireflies, dim, flickering, floating gently, in a space that feels outside of time itself. But there's just enough light left in you to ask one more question: what happens to time inside a black hole? Ah, yes. The cosmic celebrity. Black holes, the ultimate mystery boxes. Gravity turned up so high that not even light can escape. You've heard the phrase falling into a black hole maybe when describing a YouTube binge or emotional spiral. But the real thing, much weirder. Let's ease into it. A black hole is born when a massive star collapses under its own gravity. Its core implodes, and what's left behind is a singularity, an infinitely dense point surrounded by what we call the event horizon. That's the point of no return. Cross it, and you're done. But here's where things get strange. As you approach a black hole, time slows down. That's not poetic metaphor. It's measurable physics. The gravitational pull is so intense it literally warps space-time. If you were hovering just outside the event horizon and looked back at the universe, you'd see everything in fast forward. Stars zooming, galaxies spinning like vinyl records, light streaking like paintbrushes in a time-lapse. Meanwhile, if someone watched you from a safe distance, they'd see you freeze. To them, you'd seem to slow, stop, and hang there forever just before falling in. Your final scream stretched into an eternal whisper. Your last wave frozen like a statue. Scientists still debate what happens once you cross the event horizon. Some say you're crushed to nothing in the singularity. Others say the laws of physics break down completely. No time, no space, just math screaming in confusion. One wild idea, the information paradox. See, physics says information like the makeup of your atoms can't be destroyed. But black holes seem to do exactly that, erase everything. So which law wins? Enter Stephen Hawking, who proposed that black holes don't actually destroy information, they just scramble it. Like burning a book, the words are gone, but the smoke, heat, and ash still carry the data somewhere. Then came the idea of Hawking radiation, tiny particles leaking from the black hole over time, causing it to slowly evaporate. And if that's true, maybe the information gets out. Eventually, in a form no one can decode. Like receiving a novel written in glitter, one atom at a time over the course of 1 trillion years. Romantic, right? But the real kicker, to an outside observer, anything falling into a black hole never actually gets there. It just approaches the event horizon. Slower, slower, forever. From that perspective, nothing ever really falls in. So where did the time go? Maybe it's still happening. Maybe every second inside that fall is still unfolding somewhere unreachable but intact. Maybe time inside a black hole isn't a line anymore. Maybe it's a spiral or a loop or a singing echo made of silence. And here's something quirky. There are theories that black holes might be gateways not to other galaxies, but to other universes. If so, maybe falling into one doesn't mean you're lost, just that you've moved somewhere new. Some physicists even speculate about white holes, the theoretical opposite of black holes. While black holes swallow everything, white holes would spit matter out, unable to enter, like cosmic sneezes. So far, no one's found one, but the equations allow for it. Somewhere out there, maybe the other side of a black hole is a birthplace for time, for matter, for reality itself. Think about that. You fall into darkness and come out as light. Time doesn't end. It transforms. And if that's true, if even the deepest gravity wells can't erase you, only change you, then maybe sleep is a kind of black hole too. You fall in, you let go. And somewhere deep inside that infinite stillness, you begin again. You're nearly there now. The edge of sleep brushes your skin like cool fabric. The world has gone soft, distant, like you're watching it through water. But we've still got a little light left to explore something tender and a little bit terrifying. Can time ever be truly stopped or even reversed? Let's start with the pause button. In theory, if you could move at the speed of light, time would stop for you. Not just slow down. Stop. Imagine you're a photon zipping through space at 300,000 kilometers per second. You leave a star. You hit someone's eye here on Earth. From your point of view, no time has passed. Zero. You exist entirely in the moment of travel, which leads to this eerie, mind-warping idea for light itself. There is no before or after. Just now, always now. But you're not made of light. You've got mass emotions and that stubborn habit of needing snacks and naps. So for you, no matter how fast you go, you can never quite hit light speed. That's not just inconvenient, it's physics. Still, scientists dream up ways to stop time, at least theoretically. There are quantum systems like Bose-Einstein condensates, where particles become so cold, so low energy, that their movements practically freeze. It's like matter in slow motion. A glimpse of what time might look like if it just let go. Then there's the opposite fantasy, reversing time. Can you unbreak an egg? Unshatter a glass? Rewind a heartache? On paper, the equations work just fine backward. Time reversal symmetry is real in physics. But in practice, you've got entropy standing in your way again. Always entropy. You don't get younger. Mornings don't unhappen. Crumbs don't leap back into toast. But here's where it gets strange. At the quantum level, particles don't always obey time's arrow. Some experiments have shown particles behaving as if they know the future. It's rare. It's debated. It's not time travel exactly, but it blurs the line. One such experiment is the delayed choice quantum eraser, where particles behave differently depending on future measurements, meaning something you do later appears to change what happened earlier. What scientists still debate what's going on here. Some call it retrocausality. Others say it's just a weird math trick. But it hints at something very big. Maybe time isn't linear. Maybe it's interwoven past, present, and future, tangled like yarn. Let's go quirkier. There's an idea in cosmology called a closed time-like curve. Picture a loop in space-time where you can follow the curve and end up back where you started. Like driving a road that folds through the fourth dimension and dumps you into your own past. Mathematically, some versions of general relativity allow for these loops, but they'd require conditions like negative energy or exotic matter, which so far don't exist in usable ways. Still, the door isn't fully closed. The universe doesn't say no. Just maybe, but it'll cost you. And if you could go back, if you could stand in your own past, what then? Would you change things? Or just watch? Could you resist fixing that mistake, saying what you meant to say? Or would you realize that the past isn't broken, just finished? Here's a comforting twist: you already do travel in time. You travel forward every second. You carry the past. Remember it, feel it in your bones. You build the future one quiet moment at a time. You don't need a time machine. You are the time machine. Every memory is a visit. Every intention is a leap. Time reversal may not be possible in physics, but in meaning. In emotion, you rewind all the time. You relive that one summer, that one laugh, that one heartbreak. And every night you sleep, your brain files the past, imagines the future, and knits them into dreams. Maybe that's its own kind of reversal, unwinding the mess of the day, replaying, reordering, releasing. You don't need to conquer time. You just need to listen to it. Let it unfold. Let it ripple. Right now, your breath is its own metronome, your pulse its own drum. And outside your window, the stars are still out there, still sending their light, still whispering in the dark, you are not too late. You are right on time. You're just about weightless now, floating through your own internal sky where sound and thought begin to blur. But let's let this night stretch a little longer, just enough to visit one final mystery of time before the end creeps gently in. Does time need you to exist, or can it tick on without you? It's a surprisingly tricky question. We tend to think of time like a clock, a universal rhythm clicking away in the background, regardless of who or what is paying attention. But what if time doesn't exist unless there's something or someone to perceive it? Here's the bold idea: time might be a product of consciousness. That is, without a conscious observer, no thoughts, no memory, no awareness. There's no before or after, just a frozen universe. Like pausing a movie where no one presses play again. This isn't just philosophy. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest the same thing, that particles exist in a fuzzy, probabilistic state until observed. It's not that you create reality just by looking at it, but in some interpretations, observation gives structure to the chaos. So then what about time? Maybe time is the spacing between moments of awareness, between now and then, between what you remember, what you feel, and what you expect next. Without you, without any observer, what even is now? Scientists still debate whether time is a fundamental feature of the universe or an emergent one, something that arises from deeper laws we don't fully understand yet. Some go so far as to propose that time is like temperature, not real on its own, just the average result of lots of interactions. But if no one were here to feel it, would time still pass? Let's flip it. You've felt timelessness, haven't you? That sensation during meditation, or deep sleep, or when you're in flow, painting, writing, running where the hours vanish. You come out the other side and say, "Where did the time go?" The answer might be, it didn't. You just weren't measuring it. Here's a quirky tidbit: jellyfish don't have brains. They float, react, respond, but they don't perceive time the way you do. They exist in a kind of biological present stimulus response repeat. No memory, no anticipation, just now. So do they experience time? Or are they passengers on a train they'll never glimpse? There's a theory in cosmology that suggests time as we know it might be doomed, that as the universe becomes more and more homogeneous, spread out, smooth, empty, the distinction between past and future disappears. A universe in perfect symmetry has no direction, no flow, just stillness. And yet here you are, with your messy little memories, your scrambled dreams, your quiet rituals. You bring meaning to time just by noticing it, just by caring. When you recall your childhood, or wonder who you'll be in 10 years, you're not just traveling mentally, you're constructing time, building a bridge between what was and what might be. And that's powerful. You're not a passive observer of time, you're its co-author. The way you hold moments, whether with gratitude or grief, determines how time shapes you. And the way you spend your time, especially in moments like this one, well, it says something about what you value. Because here's a secret: time is limited. But meaning isn't. You can create meaning with the tiniest slice of time. A glance, a laugh, a goodbye, a whispered promise. And maybe that's all time ever wanted to be: a canvas. Not for seconds, but for significance. You're almost at the end now. Your body knows it before your brain does. Each breath deeper, each muscle softer. Your awareness fading gently. But time is still here. Not rushing, not demanding, just waiting. And whether it needs you, or you need it. One thing's for sure: right now in this moment, the two of you are together. And isn't that enough? Here we are, quietly stepping onto the final stretch of this long, meandering path. Just you and the question that started it all, still glowing faintly in the dark. You wonder softly now, could time be an illusion? It sounds dramatic, like something whispered by a cloaked philosopher in a misty forest. But oddly enough, this is a real question posed by physicists, mathematicians, even neuroscientists. And none of them are wearing cloaks, probably. Let's peel it open. The ticking you hear on a clock, that's not time, it's motion. It's the swing of a pendulum, the flick of electricity, the shift of electrons. Time then might just be how we measure change. But what if the change is all there is? Some thinkers argue that everything, your birth, your next breath, the end of this sentence already exists. Like scenes in a film reel. The idea is called the block universe. In this model, the past, present, and future all exist at once. You just happen to be experiencing them in order. You are like a flashlight sliding along a strip of film, illuminating one frame at a time. But all the frames, your first kiss, your last day, the night you learned how to whistle, all still exist, just waiting for the light to pass over them. So what does that make now? Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's just a trick of memory and attention, a highlight reel, playing frame by frame while your brain pretends there's a flow. Scientists still debate whether time flows at all, or if it's just something we feel because of the way our brains sequence memories. Just like a flipbook makes drawings look like movement, your brain makes static moments feel like they're slipping past. It's comforting to imagine the future as something waiting for you. It's terrifying to think it might already be set. But remember this. Even if time is an illusion, it's a convincing one. You feel it in your gut. You mourn its passage. You chase it, waste it, treasure it, regret it. It matters to you. And maybe that's enough to make it real. Here's a quirky fact before sleep claims you. Planck time is the smallest meaningful unit of time in physics, roughly 10^43 seconds. Shorter than that, and our current laws of physics stop working. It's the shortest possible moment the universe can define. You've never experienced one. You never will. But they're everywhere, stacking up like invisible bricks under your life. That's what you're made of. Moments so small the universe whispers between them. And here's something else. You've spent time with this script, slowly, quietly. That was real, no matter what the physicists say. Even if time is just perception, just a useful fiction, you've made it meaningful. You've felt it. So whether time is a wave or a clock or a lie we tell ourselves to make sense of breakfast and bedtime tonight, it became something gentle, something that rocked you to sleep. And now, it's time. Your breath drifts slower now, like waves in a tide pool at dusk. The world narrows. Your limbs are heavy anchored in warmth. Time, whatever it is, no longer rushes. It no longer questions. It simply allows. In the quiet hum of the night, you feel the universe loosen around you. The room blurs at the edges. Thoughts drift in and out like quiet visitors, unannounced and welcome. The mysteries, the paradoxes, the playful theories, they all settle like dust in a sunbeam, glowing for a moment, then setting. You've walked through the story of time tonight. You've explored the edges peeked behind the curtain. You've stretched seconds into meaning. You've allowed your curiosity to breathe, and now it exhales. Whatever time truly is, illusion, flow, memory, math, you have moved through it with intention, grace, and softness. That is a kind of magic. So now, in this final moment of stillness, let yourself release. Let go of clocks and calendars of questions and answers. Let your breath carry you down one last tide into deep, uninterrupted rest. The story is over. The scientist has closed the lab. The stars are out. And you, dear listener, are exactly where you need to be. Good night. End of script. Sweet dreams.